I've said it before, and I will say it again. If you suffer through Raw, get disappointed by SmackDown, NXT is your reward. Let's talk about it. What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check here with your July 19th NXT review. A great show. 3 great matches. Technically 4 matches on the show. 1 doesn't count. We're going to get to that shortly. But everything else, even the losers look good in these matches tonight. But first, gonna get the house cleaning out of the way. Look up there in the annotation. You got about 8 or 7 more days to get your questions in for Ask the Phoenix. Please join me tomorrow night / Friday morning for the preview for SmackDown's Battleground pay-per-view. And if you watched the review last night, you know what I think of SmackDown and you know what I think about this pay-per-view. If you want to tune in and listen to me rant a lot more along with Kristen and Guapo, as well as get your picks in for the pay-per-view pick 'em, join me for that video in the next 48 hours or so. It's going to be a good time. I hope people join us for the pick 'em. Even if the pay-per-view is shit, the pick 'em is pretty fun. Follow it on Twitter, etc., etc. Check out Kristen, Guapo, and Monoxide's new podcast, Squared Circle Breakdown. The links to the first 3 episodes will be in the description of this video. They are doing a lot of really fun stuff, including Monoxide cutting the pipe bomb promo from the perspective of God talking to Jesus. And if that's not a plug, I don't know what is. Anyway, let's talk about tonight. Let's talk about the first match, Ember Moon versus Ruby Riot. Now, I would love to say that I went into this match not already knowing that Ember Moon was going to win, but Ember Moon's going to win. She is the chosen one, no pun intended, to Drew McIntyre, who we're going to talk about later on. She's the chosen one. She is going to be the next big contender for Asuka's women's title. And Asuka's sort of doing that I'm too good for everybody, you know, call me when there's competition type thing, which is funny because Sheamus and Cesaro are also doing that on Raw. But that's because there's no tag teams left. Just putting that one out there. Ember Moon versus Ruby Riot tonight. That was a really good match, and I'm sorry, I say this. Ember Moon is at the top of the pile. I get it. I respect the fuck out of Ember Moon. But you guys know my heart lies with Ruby Riot and Nikki Cross. They should be... Asuka, Ember Moon move up. These 2 next ones are going to be the next ones in line, holding up that division, being the pillars of that division when other people like Liv Morgan and Aaliyah and Daria Baronato, a.k.a. Sonya Deville, plus whoever else is coming up from the Mae Young Classic when they all ascend to their next levels. Also, little side note, I'm going to advertise once again. Check the playlists on this channel. I do have a playlist for the upcoming Mae Young Classic. There's a couple of qualifying matches in that playlist already that are getting a lot of attention. Really loving that. Also getting close to 700 subscribers. So that's also pretty cool. Toss this thing around. Maybe we'll get to 700 by SummerSlam, but I don't hold out too much in that regard. With enough rambling and to do, let's get into this match. Collar and elbow tie up and a headlock by Moon. They trade some pin attempts and there's a roll-up reversal sequence ended with a head scissor by Moon. Let's go Ember, let's go Ruby chants. Right off the bat. Arm drag and a monkey flip by Riot, and the chant slowly turns from let's go Ember, let's go Ruby to just let's go women's wrestling, which is cool. Test of strength, rolling arm bars and a head scissor by Riot. Riot rides a headlock, a drop toe hold by Moon. Bow and arrow lock by Moon, back elbow by Riot. Inverted Hurricane Rana, face first into the turnbuckle by Riot. Clothesline, back elbow, and a snap suplex by Riot. Boot, backbreaker, and a mic check by Ember Moon. Shoulder tackle, trip, and a top rope senton by Riot. I thought she was going to go for a swanton. That would have been fucking sick. Tilt-a-whirl sidewalk slam by Moon. Chops by Riot. Top rope Hurricane Rana by Riot, which elicits the ever popular and ever cliched "This is awesome" chant. They trade some punches, they trade some kicks, a tornado right hand by Moon, a pump kick and a side effect by Moon, a cartwheel elbow, and an eclipse by Moon gets the win for Ember Moon. Now, this wasn't called a #1 contenders match, but I'm pretty sure this was pretty sure this was a #1 contenders match. If Ruby Riot and Nikki Cross are not somewhere on the TakeOver Brooklyn card, then they are missing the trick right here. All I'm going to say about that. We get the announcement that we're going to get Hideo Itami versus Cassius Ohno next week, again, for reasons. And we get another promo for the Street Profits, a.k.a. the Crime Time 2017. Oni Lorcan versus Danny Burch in a dirty fist fight is what I'm going to call this match. Collar and elbow tie up to start, a headlock by Lorcan, a collar and elbow tie up again, and they manhandle each other in the corner. Right hands and boots by Burch, second rope drop kick by Burch, suspension RKO. Now, when I say suspension RKO, you know how Randy Orton does the suspension DDT. He hooks you on the second rope and just drops you in the DDT. Burch hooks his feet on the top turnbuckle and he turns it into an RKO. Apparently, according to Nigel McGuinness, this maneuver is called the Tower of London, and I can't think of anything more appropriate. Neckbreaker and an uppercut by Lorcan. There's a stare down and a stiff as fuck uppercut contest and a lariat by Burch. Powerbomb by Burch, but Lorcan rolls fluidly into a single leg Boston Crab for the unpredictable and quick submission victory. Now, why do I say unpredictable and quick? It was one fluid roll through like counter wrestling maneuver in an entire match that has just consisted of these two pounding the shit out of each other. Very, very unexpected finish, but a very, very cool finish. They stare down each other at the end. There's a sportsman-like but very stiff handshake after the match, and Burch just stares him in the eyes and says one thing: one more time. Oni Lorcan says, yeah, let's fucking do it. He says one more time. Burch says one more time. The crowd says one more time. How much you want to bet we're going to get this one more time? And here's what I will say. I'm not always one to say, you know, there's a lot of people that say, why don't you save it for the pay-per-view? Why don't you save it for the pay-per-view? And I always say, if we get a good match on a weekly show, it's good. We should count our blessings, because not everything has to be saved for a pay-per-view. Throw the brakes on that. If they're going to do this again, save it for TakeOver Brooklyn, because this was good. We saw Lorcan versus Atami and the series of matches that they had over the past few weeks, and they beat the living shit out of each other. This could be the next iteration of that, because we're going to get Atami versus Ono next week for reasons. Atami needs to take on Johnny Gargano at Brooklyn. I know there's no storyline there yet, but fucking write one. Atami versus Gargano. Gargano just came back. Ciampa's still injured. You got to throw him in there with a heel. Atami is getting heel heat right now. Gargano is the white hot babyface in NXT at the moment. There's your match. There's your other match for NXT TakeOver. You've got every TakeOver has that stereotype to it. You got a world title match, you got a tag title match, you got a women's title match, and you've got two other matches. Now, one of them has in recent memory been a UK title match, but there's always been one other match. Gargano Atami. There's your other match. Do it. Make your two other have your title matches, have Cross versus Riot one more time, and have Atami versus Gargano. There's your card right there. You're welcome. Pay me. Moving on. Fuck No Way Jose. He beats some guy, and then Andrade Cien Almas comes in and beats up that guy and talks some shit to No Way Jose. So fuck both of them. Almas has some chick with her. I think she's in the Mae Young Classic, so I'm going to give more of a shit about her later on down the line. But fuck Almas, fuck No Way Jose. Get them both off my TV, thank you very much. Drew McIntyre versus Killian Dain for the #1 contendership for Bobby Roode's NXT Championship at TakeOver Brooklyn 3. Now, again, like I said in the first match, like I said, congratulations to Ember Moon. You know, she was injured. I feel bad for her. She's coming back. She's coming back stronger than ever. She looks good. I'm sorry. I remember the things that Ruby Riot did in that match, and the same thing goes here. You guys know I am a mark for Drew McIntyre. I liked him in his first run in WWE, the whole Chosen One gimmick, the various tag teams that he was in. I was still watching TNA when Drew Galloway debuted in TNA, and he was like that pissed off, like almost advocate type guy, and it seems like he's brought that character back with him to NXT. I'm a huge mark for Drew McIntyre. But my thoughts on Killian Dain I'm going to get to after I talk about this match. There's a collar and elbow tie-up, a shoving match, they trade some punches, some running corner kicks and a clothesline, and an axe handle by Drew. Wyatt-style crossbody by Dain, that huge, like, throw yourself across the ring crossbody that Wyatt did. Dain does the same thing. Mudhole stomps and a boot to the face, hard Irish whip by Dain, stomping on the hands and following up with a mudhole stomp in the corner. A mudhole stomp that starts with kicks and ends up just punching him down into the fucking ground. Crossface shots by Dain, a high knee and a neck vice. The neck vice, he doesn't just hold him in the neck vice, he eventually takes him down so that he's neck vicing him into the canvas. That's a nice shot. When you see somebody the size of Killian Dain exerting that much power on his opponent, it's taking advantage of all his assets, literally. Chops by Drew, a jawbreaker, a clothesline by Dain, a running powerbomb by Drew off the second turnbuckle, which, you know, a guy the size of Dain, that's pretty impressive. They trade punches and there's a boot by Drew, clothesline by Drew, air raid crash is what Nigel McGuinness calls it, but it's basically the white noise. Killian Dain with a running senton followed by a Vader bomb. There's a lot of shout-outs to other wrestlers in this match. Jackknife powerbomb, hello Kevin Nash. Running elbow by Dain. Fisherman superplex by Dain. And here we go. Here's the finish. Here's what makes Dain looks like $1 million fucking dollars. Future shock DDT by Drew. Dain kicks out at 1. Claymore by Drew, and Dain pops up before he can even attempt the pin, calls him out, challenges him, sort of like, you know, Shawn Michaels asking The Undertaker, give me one more. Second Claymore gets the win for Drew. Dain looked like $1 million in this match. Slight nitpick I have on this match. You got two guys. You have the two guys in NXT that were undefeated. You got this guy that's never been beaten, this guy that's never been beaten. You're going to destroy that for one of them. And you knew the winner of this was going to be Drew McIntyre. He's the one that's built up. These guys, if you remember back to the days before TNA fell completely off the map, these guys had some good matches. I mean, Bobby Roode and Drew Galloway had some great matches in TNA, if I recall correctly. So you knew Killian Dain was going to take the fall here. The only problem with that is you've got Killian Dain, who's this fucking wrecking machine, athletic as shit. He's the Braun Strowman of the NXT brand, and you've taken a little bit of that mystique away from the character. I hope he can get it back. I do like, over the past couple of weeks, that we've seen all the different members of Sanity have a slightly different remix of the Sanity entrance. It's a little tiny detail, but it helps. It works. It's just enough to notice. This match was great. This show was great. Danny Burch lost tonight. Killian Dain lost tonight. Ruby Riot lost tonight, but they all looked like fucking superstars. Raw, SmackDown, Raw and SmackDown pay-per-views. Look at this show. I'm telling you right now, I'm kind of been wishy-washy on NXT the past little while. If you didn't see NXT tonight, first of all, why are you watching my review? But if you didn't see NXT tonight, go back to your on-demand. Why are we beeping? Why is this a thing? Go back and watch this episode of NXT tonight. If you want a show where the winners and the losers both looked fucking amazing, watch this show tonight. Skip the No Way Jose, skip the Andrade Cien Almas, skip the other Bonani jobber that was in the middle of all that. But the rest of it was fucking gold. And if the main roster could book like this, guys like us wouldn't bitch so much. No more qualifiers for the Mae Young Classic, so we're going to skip over that this week because there's nothing to talk about. But yeah, amazing show. Go check it out. I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I am tagging out. Bye, guys.
You're a freak like me.